Hello, everybody. My name is LJ, and welcome to my vlog. Not gonna lie, I am still debating on the name for this vlog. I am leaning towards either Life in My Broken Body or Life When You're Falling Apart. I don't know. Feel free to leave suggestions or ideas for a title. That would be great. So today I am coming to you from the lovely Lake of the Ozarks, currently sitting on our dock, which is one of my favorite places. I love just the feel of the water bouncing me up and down. So I've decided to create this vlog in order to share my journey with rare disease and what life is like when you have not only a rare disease, a chronic illness, but one that is a degenerative illness. One of the other reasons I decided to start this is because people are always asking me questions like, how many surgeries have you had? Why are you always injured? Why are you always sick? How in the world do you handle all this stuff? How in the world are you holding a job? And cruiser waves. And just like, how do you always just have a smile on your face and like laugh like none of this is a big deal? So with this vlog, I want to just kind of walk people through my life and just give you a little insight and help create some awareness around these things and just see what it's like. So I have been very blessed to not only have one rare disease, but bam, I got two. So one of them is called primary hypogammaglobulinemia, and the other is a hereditary connective tissue disease, which that in itself is all sorts of complicated, but we'll go into that later. So primary hypogamma, what? It's primary hypogammaglobulinemia. It is a primary immune deficiency. Basically, my body does not make enough IgG or immunoglobulin G, and what it does make, it doesn't work correctly. As a result, I get a lot of respiratory infections, and up until starting my replacement therapy, I basically had to live on antibiotics. If I was lucky, I was off them for 2 weeks before I would come down with another serious infection and have to go back on them. So now I currently receive IVIG or intravenous immunoglobulin replacement therapy through a port, this little bump in my chest, every 14 days. Thanks to a lot of amazing people, like some of you out there watching this, who donate plasma, I'm able to get these infusions, which allow me to have a closer to normal functioning immune system. And these infusions have changed my life, and I've been able to start thriving more again. In future blog, I'll break down and kind of explain more what that is. So this leaves us with the connective tissue disease, the oh so complicated hereditary connective tissue disease. My diagnosis is a bit confusing with this one because they think I either have a new disease altogether that has not yet been named or a new form of ehlers-danlos syndrome. So my genetic testing does show that I have one of the markers for type 6 or kyphoscoliosis type ehlers-danlos syndrome, but the second marker was not tested for, meaning I have to spend another few $1,000s in order to get that testing and figure out whether or not it is present. My testing also showed mutations, which have also not been previously documented, meaning I was the lucky first time they had ever seen those mutations. But I always knew I was weird and one of a kind, so all is good. The specialist said, without a doubt, that there is some sort of hereditary connective tissue disease, that I'm a bit of an odd case because when they do my physical exams and they look at what all is wrong with me, I overlap with multiple connective tissue diseases like Marfan syndrome, osteoimperfecta, ehlers-danlos syndrome, and a few others as well, which is kind of why they think I could have a new one altogether. So connective tissue diseases are unfortunately commonly mistaken for general joint hypermobility, but they are not the same thing. Hypermobility, connective tissue disease, different things. Yes, they both involve a lot of joint flexibility, but totally different things. With connective tissue disease, every system of the body is affected. Anything that contains any sort of elastic tissue or collagen is going to be affected. Essentially, my body has mutated DNA, so I cannot create collagen correctly. I like to explain it as a normal person, your tissues are like a rubber band. They stretch and they go back. With connective tissue disease, we stretch, we don't go back. It's like saran wrap. You stretch it out, it's not going to bounce back. So in addition to the rare diseases, I was also born with spina bifida occulta, tether cord syndrome, a congenital heart defect, hearing loss, and a dermal tract sinus. These things may or may not be related to the mysterious connective tissue disease, but at this point, we really don't know and kind of just have to treat things as they come. So how do I deal with all of this and still appear so positive or laugh off things like serious events or things like when I was on life support? Well, my way is to deflect through humor, which unfortunately is not always the best thing to do. Over time, I've had to learn to use my humor appropriately to get through all of my issues. Definitely hasn't been easy, but through just working with my providers, working with a therapist, I have learned to now appropriately use that humor and to know when, okay, right now I should not be using this, or okay, I'm really deflecting from something else other than just trying to make light of the situation. I also, unfortunately, have had a coping mechanism that has not been a very healthy one. All my medical problems and surgeries and difficulties have led to a pretty significant battle with anorexia nervosa and depression, in addition to anxiety and a little bit of OCD. I have gone through treatment with those and work closely with a psychiatrist and a therapist to make sure everything is staying in check, and I've learned how to cope in better ways. So those are pretty much in the past, but they do occasionally pop up, and I know, red light, we need to work on this. So to give a better idea of what I have had to deal with, here's a little snapshot. There are two main facts that I have had to come to terms with that have been very, very hard for me and led to a lot of that depression and whatnot. Number one, I do not, unfortunately, have a normal life expectancy. But because we don't know exactly what the disease is, they also can't tell me exactly what my life expectancy is, which I will take that over when they originally told me I had 5 to 10 years because they thought I had a different form of ehlers-danlos syndrome that results in aortic rupture pretty much by the time you are 30. Thankfully, that was not positive in my genetic testing. However, they said I won't have a normal life expectancy. We just don't know how short it'll be. So I do, though, still have some of the vascular complications of EDS type 4 and Marfan syndrome. So who knows how that'll work. Number two, I will always be getting worse because the connective tissue disease is a degenerative disease. So over time, I will slowly, at times more rapidly, be getting worse. And there's not going to be a getting better. So as I lose function and body parts, I have to come to terms and accept that that's my new normal, which is hard because I used to be an extremely competitive athlete. Yeah. That part just sucks. As a result of my disease, I have also, at this point, had a lot of surgeries. Currently, I'm sitting somewhere around like 22 or 24 surgeries and procedures that I have had that result in some sort of general anesthesia. Not to mention other procedures that would not be considered surgeries that have still needed anesthesia and whatnot. So let's take a look at the surgery history. I have had one surgery on my head to remove a cyst. I have had 2 heart catheterizations. I had to have a surgical feeding tube placed. I had to have my portacath placed. I have had 4 knee surgeries, that is 2 on each knee, 4 shoulder surgeries, that is 2 on each shoulder. My gallbladder had to be removed due to a tumor. I've had sinus surgery. I have had 2 spinal cord surgeries. The first was tether cord release. The second was to go back in due to complications. I've had like 3 or 4 stomach scopes now. Not sure. Kind of lost track of those ones. I have had 2 rounds of lumbar RFAs, which is radio frequency ablations, to ablate or burn some of the nerves. Currently scheduled for another one of those. I am scheduled for a major knee reconstruction on my left knee. The right knee will also need to be done at some point. The left knee was originally supposed to happen on June 27th. Got canceled, got rescheduled. It was supposed to happen this past Monday. Right as they were about back to wheel me, right as they were about to wheel me back to the OR, had a last minute cancellation, so got to go home after getting a nerve block and all. So hopefully this coming Monday that surgery will finally actually happen. Like I said, I'm scheduled for another back RFA too at the end of the month. And then I've had 3 other procedures that have required anesthesia, but it wouldn't be considered any sort of surgery. As a result of my diseases, it has caused other medical complications. I have gastroparesis, severe GERD, which is reflux, anemia, osteoarthritis, osteopenia, and yes, I'm currently reading from a list. Multiple allergies and hypersensitivities. I've had multiple infections, mast cell activation disorder, stomach ulcers, dysphagia, which is a fancy word for trouble swallowing, frequent aspirations, asthma, vision trouble, sensory neural hearing loss, an atonic bladder, drop foot, tetraplegia, which is another fancy word for quadriplegia, but hey, look, I can move everything. Paralyzed does not always mean you can't move. For me, it means I have significant weakness in all 4 limbs. I have tether cord syndrome, triple curve scoliosis, leg discrepancy, Raynaud's, craniocervical instability. I've had multiple CSF leaks, frequent joint dislocations, numerous cysts, numerous ear infections. I've had meningitis, not just once, I've had it more than once. Nausea, vomiting, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've had both hyper and hypothyroidism. DVTs, also known as blood clots, heart arrhythmias, ADHD, learning disabilities, narcolepsy, depression, anxiety, anorexia, and other things that I'm probably forgetting at the moment. So when I say frequent joint dislocations, we're talking I have like 20 plus subluxations or dislocations, usually a combination of the 2, on a daily basis while I'm awake. And then I have more while I am sleeping. So the joints that dislocate while I'm awake and while I'm asleep are shoulders, kneecaps, my right hip, and my jaw. While I'm awake, I'll experience dislocations in my ankles, fingers, clavicle, ribs, toes, and thumbs. The connective tissue disease leaves me at high risk for spontaneous aortic dissection and organ rupture. If I were to get pregnant, I'm at a super high risk for miscarriage, preterm birth, not to mention with the type 6 EDS. I've not been able to find anything or any articles where both mother and child have survived the pregnancy. I was told that if by some miracle I was able to conceive, chances of me carrying to the point where the fetus is viable would be next to none, and by getting pregnant I'd be putting my own life in jeopardy, and I would not be able to actually go through labor, because just labor alone could cause my aorta to go. They don't actually explode like that. Usually they tear and they leak, but I was told do not get pregnant. It would not be smart, which is a hard one because I want kids more than anything. But there are other ways to have children. So the heart defect will eventually lead to heart failure, which is apparently when they will finally do the surgical repair. I don't know why they want to wait until I'm in right-sided heart failure. I think it's because of the connective tissue disease and immune deficiency. But that is what they have said. I'm currently waiting to get, oh gosh, this will be my fourth or my fifth opinion. This time going to see an adult congenital heart disease specialist. Because I have cousins that have the same thing, and theirs was repaired like right away once it was found. So we'll see what they say. The immune deficiency obviously leaves me at risk for overwhelming infection, sepsis, frequent infections, lung damage due to numerous respiratory infections, and it also does increase risk for certain types of cancers. So to manage my symptoms and conditions, and to just be well enough to work, I currently have to take, I think it's like 12 medications every day. I honestly am just ballparking a number here. And then there's PRNs, and then during flares, medications might be added. When I'm doing well, medications might be, taken off the list. It just depends on where I'm at and where symptoms are. Yeah, so everything I just shared with you is a really just brief, overview. Probably still really confusing. I just threw a lot of information out there. Just to give you an idea of what it is I go through, and through this blog you'll get more of an idea. Hopefully this will help and just like create a better understanding and just give insight, what it's like to live with a rare disease, because it is a crappy road. It is frustrating when your disease is so rare that doctors have to go research it because they've never heard of it. And it's a battle for those rare and with chronic illnesses. So stay tuned as we dive deeper into whatever I end up naming this blog. We're going to go with trying to live a life when your body's falling apart. So keep an eye out. I'll have upcoming vlogs on invisible illness, my knee surgery nightmare. This story of hopefully the third time will be the charm and it'll actually happen. Infusion day, so what are my infusion days like? And mobility through the years. Feel free to leave comments, provide feedback, things you might want to, know about. And I'll also hopefully get some vlogs just about each of my disorders to just provide some education. And I will be back for another one soon. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.